Today's class is going to be on small trees, tiny yards. So there's places, even in big yards, there's places where you need just smaller trees next to a patio, down the driveway, the street trees, where you need a little shade next to the hot tub. Those are areas for small trees, down the property line in between two houses. Or some of us just have really small lots. You've only got 25 feet back from this line. And then it's a wall up, and then it goes over there. There's places for small trees. And every yard needs some trees. Here I just focused on the very small ones. There's a whole lot more choices. I just picked some of my favorites. And if they didn't really have twigs, or if they still look deciduous things, so right now people are losing their heads because they're calling it, my grapes I think they died. My desert willow, I think it died. My crepe myrtles, they died. No, they're like summer. They haven't woken up yet. This is our second warm day. This is day 2. It's been cold. It was frosty last week. Their summer plants don't like to wake up in that. And so these trees I brought that they've either been starting to bloom and they bloomed out and now they're leafing, or so that's where we're going. Then I thought I would show how to plant. Just here's how you put them in the ground, and here are the trees. Seemed like a good format. We'll do that in like 45 minutes or less, unless you folks are really chatty on Facebook, which we do answer those questions, just letting you know. Or in the audience, of course, too. So, not yet. What?
I thought this class was going to be on blooming and fragrant trees.
Well, yes, and most of those are tiny trees. There you go. So it'll all tie in together.
Okay.
So let's see where we go with this. Why don't I go with how to plant things, and then we'll just go across. I brought some evergreens, a lot of bloomers, and then some things that are outside the box, just to help you think, okay, well, I could use that big shrub as a tree if I needed to. Okay, and we'll just go down the line. So how do you plant? So let's just pull this plant here. Let's see which one. Let's go with this one. This is one of the very first trees to bloom in spring. In fact, it was blooming over a month ago, in March. So it's now done blooming. Remember, there's a real pink flower. It was winter. All of a sudden, this pink tree just went full. I think it's going to be spring, and that's purple leaf plum. That's what this guy is. So it blooms pink in spring. It announces spring, or the start of spring, or early spring. When this guy blooms, or gal, let's see. Yep, gal, and she blooms. You guys did not buy that online, did you? Oh my gosh. Anyway, when it blooms, it can still be frosty. So it can even snow. I think we did have a snow, that really heavy snow, like a month ago. This guy was in bloom. And so when it gets done blooming, it puts on this purple foliage, and it stays this color right through the growing season. Its fall color is purple. Summer color, it's purple. It's just purple all the time. If you like that, that's great. If you don't, it's good contrast, all the blues of the oaks, that purple kind of contrast is a texture thing. As a designer, I don't like to see this in the yard by itself, because purple seems unnatural. When you put it with something else, all of a sudden the magic happens in the yard. And so it's a purple leaf plum. How to plant it? Really, this is super easy. This is going to save you guys that own backhoes. You know who you are. A lot of work. So we are not digging a deep hole. We do not want to go down. We want to stay high, because our ground is super hard, and there's nothing down there for the tree to go after. All the nutrients, all the water, everything up that's of value is up real close to the surface. Even very large native trees, you'll see them bulldozed over. The fruits are only down maybe 3 feet. This is a 50-foot tree. Roots are only 3 feet down, but it goes out like this a long ways. If you know that's how plants are going to grow, then let's dig a wide hole, not a deep hole. And so it's much easier to dig that type of hole. So you're only going this deep as the bucket, and then you're going 3 times the width. So add a bucket on both sides and round, kind of saucer shaped. And that is your planting size hole. The bigger the root ball, obviously, the bigger the their hole's going to be, the smaller it is, the smaller you need to go. Now you're going to have this dirt over here off to the side. You're going to need to sift. Some of you are really going to some of you are going to hit a boulder. By the time you get that thing out of the hole, there's no soil left, but your hole's dug. Usually you've got caliche layers. There's a layer of chalky, white kind of soil as caliche. It's a calcium deposit. It's very hard. You want to pick through that. Any rocks bigger than a golf ball, you want to sift that out. Those things heat up in the summer and they bake your roots. They can't hold water molecules. There's nothing redeeming about a big chunk of a big clod or rock or root. You want to filter that stuff out. What's left, you want to amend about a third water's mulch, premium mulch. We've got this compost that we've made for planting here. About one shovel of mulch, about 2 shovels of native earth. You can cheat that back and forth a little bit. If you hit a lot of rock, there's a lot of debris. Yeah, you can cheat it up a little bit more. Maybe no more than 50-50, or it gets too much. It'll stay too wet for you. But what we're trying to do is keep that soil where it keeps from compacting back down. And the compost, that's what's going to attract the worms, the mycorrhizal colonies, the beneficial insects that actually stimulate the root growth of plants. Some of you, most of you, I would imagine, have dead soil. You will not see one worm. There's nothing in the soil, and so that compost helps to enrich that. So all of a sudden, you'll start seeing the activity will start happening. That's good for trees. It's going to encourage new root growth. It's going to hold moisture in where it's real sandy. It's going to keep the soil texture fluffier in real heavy clay soils. So that's why you're adding that mulch. You're blending that together, and you're going to backfill around that root ball. Tap it down real hard. Secret, do not put any dirt up against this trunk. Don't bury it, or it will die. It'll be a slow, methodical, painful death. As a gardener, you will ache. As you get crown rot, this bark will literally just rot off. And so you want to keep the top of this root ball exposed to air. You don't want to bury this. This should be the top of the soil level. In fact, most of you in those heavy clay soil areas, that 69 corridor, all the way out from Prescott Valley, Dewey, Mayer, Spring Valley, Cornish Junction, that whole area is very hard soils. And so for you all, you really need to plant on a slight mound. You'll leave about 2-3 inches of root ball out of the ground. And then you'll slowly, just gently mound the soil up to the top of this root ball, so we can guarantee that soil breathes. This is important when the monsoon rains come. There's 2 wet patterns that we have here in the mountains. It's July, August, September. There's a monsoon rain that happens. And then March is when we get our heavy, just seepy, gooey, cold, soggy, wet. That's when damage is done with trees. That's when they die. So we're having people bring in samples of spruce, different kinds of trees, or all kinds of trees that obviously got damaged back in March, 2 months ago. It's back then. The damage number, we're seeing it now because they're out in the yard, they're seeing the new growth. It's not waking up the way I wanted. That's because the soil didn't drain. Those areas should have a slight, it should be an ever so slight mound. You'll be the only one that'll see the mound, but it ensures at least this much of the roots can breathe, even in the soggiest, wettest of monsoon rains. Okay? When you get all done, you're going to sprinkle some of this all-purpose plant food, not the whole bag. I had one guy, he took a class just like 5-6 years ago. I must not have communicated well. I'm trying to get better, but he took the bag home, opened it up, and planted the tree. This is not a mulch, it's not a planting soil, this is a food. It's got nitrogen, phosphorus, potash, and it will burn the roots off if you get too much of it. It's organic, so it's pretty kind, but you're probably, for this size tree, you're going to take a big handful and then sprinkle it on top of the soil. Now, every time you water or it irrigates or it rains, a little bit of food gets released over about a 3-month period of time. So we encourage that root to elongate into the surrounding soil. We want to encourage as much roots as we can. Okay? And when I'm all done, I'll water it in with Root Grow. This is a steeped tea, root and grow. Root and grow. It's a rooting hormone. Helps it stabilize. This is like open heart surgery and brain surgery at the same time. I mean, on a plant. This is the soil. This is the home it's known. You're taking it out, putting it in your crummy soil in your yard in the mountains of Arizona. It's going to have transplant shock. This helps with transplant shock. Usually I'll mix up as 3 tablespoons in a gallon of water. You folks online, there you go. I don't know if you can see that label or not, but there you go. You should be in here so you can see the person. Yeah, you heard me. Anyway, so I water this in, and then about 2 weeks later, I'll do it again. And twice seems to be enough to really stabilize plants where they want to start rooting. And you'll know if they seem to be stressed, summer and it's hot, and the leaves are just kind of stressed out, I might do it a 3rd time, but basically twice, and that pretty much gets it going. Then I'll cut it off of all of this. Now I'm letting the all-purpose food do all the work for me. Okay? Most trees will probably need to be staked for just 1 year. If you bought that house and someone else has been living in it, they built it, you moved in, and they staked the trees like the house was it's a 5-year-old landscape and it still has stakes on it, it's way past the tree is holding the stakes up at that point. You should only need stakes on for 1 year for bigger trees. Small trees, maybe 2 years. What I'm encouraging my clients right now to do is take those stakes that you had last year, cut them. Leave the stakes in the ground, but take the support, that system back and forth, take that off. Let it leaf out and see how it goes to the next windstorm. If it holds up straight, break those stakes off. You don't need them anymore. So the plant should be able to move, but not lay over. So sometimes you'll have what we call shipping stakes. You'll see a bamboo pole right next to the bark. That is not good for trees. You want to definitely take that off. That's like putting your arm in a cast for 3 years, and then when you take your arm out of the cast, how much muscle are you going to have left? 0. Same with trees. If they're not allowed to bend and move in the wind, they never become strong. So what we want to do is put a stake on either side and then tie off once, just to keep it from laying over. And that's enough to stake it for the first year. This is really important for fruit trees, things that load up with weight. So you can have 200-300 pounds of peaches and nectarines or apples. And if it's starting to lean and it loads up, it'll literally just fall right over. So you really want to make sure those trees start growing straight. And once they lean, they're this big or bigger, you can't straighten them out. I mean, I've tried. I've put them on a bumper with a rope and tried to pull them back. They are too strong at that point. So you want to catch this early. And that's how you plant. Any questions on how to plant? Pretty easy, huh? It's not that. 3 things: mulch, food, root and grow. Stakes are the big things. And that's it. Now you know what a purple leaf plum is. There you go. You'll see them all over town, especially now that they're leafing out. You go, oh, there's purple leaf plum. Ken talked about that. I know what that is. It announces spring. Super drought hardy. You can't kill the thing. Bugs don't eat it. Yeah. This is a true native. You're seeing a tree right now. I'm not gonna. Why am I lifting this up over here to get this? What am I thinking? I've been lifting trees all day long. I don't know any better.
Just trying to show us how buff you are.
I'm in retail. I compete against Amazon. That's how smart I am. Actually, we do pretty good. So, anyway, and I get slap happy at the end of the day. This is a serviceberry. You're seeing a white tree in the forest. If you're out there, you see this white tree in bloom in the middle of nowhere. Obviously not planted. It just grew up. That's a serviceberry. It's a native grower. It's related to like a wild cherry tree. It's kind of related to this one, but it's tougher. It's got a white flower, very robust. This is one, you probably water it for a year, and then you could probably take it off of all irrigation. It's that robust. It's a native, it's xeriscape kind of plant. Its claim to fame is after it's got the white flowers, it puts on these little berries. And I wish you could see this online, but it's got little tiny berries. They'll form the little black berries. They're edible. You'll never get to taste one. They're kind of tasty, but the birds, they love serviceberry. And so this is one, if you want to go small, this is maybe high teens for a size of tree. So it's quite small, but its real claim to fame is in the fall. It's got this most beautiful orange and red color to it. It's just stunning. So, okay, birds love it. Native grower, Serviceberry, or Amalancher is the botanical name. I can go all that, Bonnie. Yeah, it's in the back.
How tall does that one get?
Oh, that one gets mid-teens, high teens, somewhere there. That's 18 feet. Gets kind of round, kind of like that shape. So maybe 10 feet across, something like 10, 12, something like that. It's a small tree in tree terms. I mean, compared to a cottonwood or willow, sycamore that goes 60, 80 feet tall, this guy's tiny. Okay? Just to go out, I won't cover this one yet. This is outside the box. I'll go outside the box later. This one does not look like much, but in another month, it will start to bloom, and the blooms look like the tree is on fire, literally. It's called a smoke tree or smoke bush because the flower hovers, real light, wispy kind of flower on top. And it just looks, when the sun gets behind it, it's like magical. It's very pretty. The foliage is purple, kind of a round shape, about the size of a silver dollar. This one loves the heat, like crazy hot, like nothing else grows there. Everything vaporizes because wind and heat, just nothing grows. This one will grow. This is a super tough smoke tree, loves growing here at altitude. This one is very unusual to see it in a tree form. So we've taken two grafts, one here and one here. So normally this is a bush, but we forced it to be a tree. So this is probably going to grow about, I don't know, 8 feet across, maybe 6 feet high, something like that, kind of a ball shaped. So it's going to be up like this. Beautiful little pot. I've grown this in a container, raised beds, down a driveway, just wherever. It's not going to get big at all. Maybe 10 feet. Easy to keep shorter if you want it. That's a smoke tree. Okay. All right, another super unusual one. You just don't see this. This is a lilac. You see lilacs as bushes. Always as bushes. Not always, because you're here at Waters Garden Center. And we like freakishly weird stuff because I get bored with plants. And so I'm going, oh, that's neat. I like that. If I like that, gardeners are going to like that. Let's bring it in. This is a Miss Kim lilac. It's the hardiest of all of the lilacs. So it's going to go through sub-zero or even more. I think it goes down to minus 30 or 40 degrees. Some crazy cold. It does have fragrant purple flowers. Again, this is a dwarfed lilac. It doesn't get that big. It's not super aggressive. A regular lilac is going to be easily 8-10 feet in vase shape like this. Easily 8 foot by 10 foot. A lilac shrub. This is going to be probably a 4x4, 5x5 tree like this. It's going to be about that big around with this beautiful fragrant flower in the spring. It's fall color. A beautiful gold, like aspen gold, even a deeper, richer, not a butter yellow, I mean, it's a deep, rich gold to it. Very, very pretty. Very tough. Okay.
How much do bees like that flowering type?
So bees, so the question is, how much would bees like things? Bees like flowers. So I was working out in the yard late Sunday, and the bees were swarming. So right now, don't freak out, but I had 2 swarms of bees go over my house, just in the front yard. You can tell because you could hear them say, whoa, 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 whoa. You just hear them going over. And that's a nest has now formed 2 queens, and now they're dividing, and half the colony goes with the new queen, and they go flying around looking for a new home. Well, she's a big lumbering giant. She gets tired easily. So she'll just kind of rest. She'll rest in a tree or something. And you can't go any farther. And so all the bees will surround her. There'll be this huge, scary, like basketball size of bees. It's pretty freaky. It's an honor to see that kind of nest moving. They'll only be there for an hour or 2 and lift up and go away, and they're going out to wherever they're going to build a new nest. So that's how honeybees really work. That's a honeybee that's doing that. Yellow jackets, not so much. Wasps are good. This is honeybees. They're the favored. You kind of need those. I saw 2 nests not divide, but the swarms moving across. It might have been the same one. Look, trying to find a home. I don't know, but it's kind of it's an unusual thing to see, and this is the time of year that you see it. Okay. All right, let's go with this guy. Since it's kind of related to the other two, very unusual. This is Indian Hawthorn, or Raphaeoliptus, Indian Hawthorn. It's an evergreen, loves the heat. It just loves brutal heat and wind. It's one of those, got a real thick, leathery leaf, but it does this in the spring. So it starts to bloom. In another week, this will be just solid pink and super fragrant. This tree it's very, very short. So maybe it'll be 4 by 4 by 4. It'll be like this big. And just evergreen. It's unusual to see evergreen trees that stay small. Mostly they're spruce and conifers. It's unusual to see broadleaf evergreens formed in a tree. And again, this is not how it naturally grows. We grew it to be this way. So it's got a graft. We actually took a cutting, grafted it to a rootstock, took this stalk, and then we grafted another one up here. So you've got, it's pretty sophisticated, unusual. You'll be one of the only ones in your neighborhood that would have an Indian hawthorn that's in a tree form. Shrubs are everywhere. You see them all over. And they're all starting to bloom right now. Okay, bees, I don't know about bees every time.
Well,
the bees generally
are
like
attracted to flower. I'm just trying to think, I don't want to plant something that's going to be covered with bees by my patio.
Yeah, sure.
I want to put
Makes
them out
sense.
by the fence, so
Sure.
that's why I'm asking.
I
that
haven't
question.
noticed bees on this. I've got this right beside my garage.
Because it's like
I haven't noticed it.
butterfly bushes, bees, no butterflies.
Yeah.
Yes.
So this one I would stake for a bit, just because this is a big canopy for a smaller trunk. Eventually that trunk is going to be quite large, and you can take those stakes off. It'll just keep up on it. So that's for all of these really short trees. So this one would be really pretty. This one I grow in containers with some flowers at the base of it. It's just really, really pretty. That's an art piece when you get done. Be nice to have this up against the patio because it's so fragrant. So hummingbirds love it. So I've got it in a big pot, not in a tree form, but shrub form on either side of my garage, just because it's south facing. It's hot right there, reflective heat, and I wanted something pretty. When you come into my driveway, my yard says, "Ken, welcome home. I'm so glad you're here." And then the schnauzer comes and finds you, and goes, "I'm even more happy you're here." Ah! Yeah, that's our house. This is a great screening plant. It's a deciduous plant, super tough. It takes the wind. It just does really, really well here. This is fine line buckthorn is the name. This is a very tall. This is mature. I've got two sizes smaller than this, but this is one if you want to screen your hot tub. You've got neighbors looking in on the patio. You want something tight up against something next to the deck, or you know where the places are where you want something like this. This would be really great for that. And it roots out and naturalizes really well. Eventually you just water this kind of like you would any other tree or shrub in your yard. You treat it the same way. Just a different, unusual, smaller tree.
How wide is it?
This is pretty wide. It's about like an Italian cypress kind of thing. Maybe you'll get 3 feet, then it's going to go a little bit higher. This is super mature. It's unusual to see a buckthorn this tall. And you only find them at Waters Garden Center. There you go.
Does it stay that color?
No, it'll green up a little bit more. The new growth, that's all just happened that bright Kelly green. It'll get a little bit deeper, darker green to it, which gives it some interest. Its fall color is a bright gold again. So.
Did you say that one, is it a perennial or evergreen or whatever?
It is not evergreen, it's deciduous, very good. Loses its leaves. This is an evergreen, so it holds its leaves through winter.
So it won't be good screening year round.
Yeah, it's so thick that even without the leaves you can't see through it. But yeah, some places, I mean, let's face it, you're not on your patio or your deck in the winter. It's too cold. But the time when you're out there using the outdoor space, it's going to be thick and full. So there's a place for it.
What kind of soil? Wet, not wet?
All of these are going to take just the same planting technique that we just said. They're all going to take the same. So nice, medium, moist. Don't let it go bone dry. But but don't let it be soggy wet. But that's everything, really. That's you and me, too. I like to swim for a little bit, but I turn into a prune if I'm in the water too long. And if I'm out in the sun for too long, I bake. So trees are just like people. Anyway, this one's very unusual. I brought it, really, it shouldn't fit this format, but some of you, I thought, let's think outside the box. So I'm setting the stage right now. This is a Vanderwolf pine. It's related to our Austrian ponderosa pinyon pines from the Pinus family. The foliage is very, very soft. So you just want to hug this tree. Usually pines are very sticky, and they want to poke you. This one doesn't do that. And it's a very slow grower. So it'll get up to about mid-teens, maybe 20, not in our lifetime, but it will finally get up there. So, and it doesn't get very wide. It gets maybe 4 or 5 feet wide, about teen size height. It's a great pine tree for here. This one is so hardy, if you're gonna kill it, it'll be you overwatered it. So if in doubt, let this one go dry. It's very sensitive to real wet soil. So like our pine trees, all of our native pines and junipers, they're very drought hardy. They like to be wet, and then they want to dry out for a while. That's a secret with these really tough, any of these native, the serviceberries, the purple leaf plum, all these guys are drought hardy, tough plants. You kind of treat them all the same way. What's the name of this plant again? Vanderwolf pine, very good. Very unusual pine, yep. I don't know where Vanderwolf comes from. I gotta research that sometime. It's gotta be like German or say Bavaria, pine tree, introduced here. This one I brought, super unusual. You are seeing these bloom all over town right now, but they're all trees. They're all trunk, up to about 15 feet, 18 feet tall, and they're kind of umbrella shaped. They kind of grow kind of like that, umbrella shaped. They're a malus family or crabapple. Crabapples, your grandparents grew actually form a crabapple. Kind of a bitter tasting thing. They make jellies, jams, preserves, that out of it. Well, it's got one of the brightest, prettiest flowers of all the bloomers. Crabapples, bar none, nothing competes. Bright reds, dark purples, bubblegum pinks. We're talking very bright colors. When you're driving through town right now and you see a tree that's really bright, it's more than likely going to be a crabapple. What we've done is we've bred the crabapple out of it, so now the crabapple is only about that big, size of a dime or even less, a marble. And so it's ornamental. It's made to just dangle from the tree and just be pretty all the time. It's like little ornaments on the tree. It starts to bloom. Now it's putting on this great spring foliage. This red purple color will turn to a dark green. Then the fall color will be bright orange on this particular one. Most crab apples are red to orange color. So you got the spring bloom, great shade tree, and that fall color. You get all this, and even the bark is interesting on crab apples. This one's unusual that you never see a multi-stem like an aspen. You just never see a crab apple multi-stem like that. Here you can see a little better like that. You just don't see a multi-stem, so this is going to be a big bush, a huge bush, or a really short tree with multi-stems coming out. So there's a certain place where you kind of place these out. Here's the flowers coming on, so it'll be in bloom here in like a week or two, start to bloom. This is Royal Raindrop, which I think is a bright pink flower, crabapple. Okay? Very tough plant. But I find with crabapples, I find that little fruit stays on there. It's real pretty. It'll lose its leaves. It'll stay on there, kind of dangling. And the robins come in about January, and they'll start to flock up. At that point, you'll see 20 robins together, whole flock, and they'll come in and land on this crabapple, and they'll just eat all the fruit. So they'll do that for a couple days, and then no fruit left. It's all gone. It's a food source for the birds. Yeah.
Height of that?
That's going to be maybe 12, 14 feet, something like that. Mid-teens at the most. Okay? All right, let's see what else we got covered. Some outside the box things. Here. I'm raising this kind of up because I'm thinking it helps the Facebook folks. Does it help, Ken, or does it hinder?
No, it's good.
Does it help? So, this is Redbud. So redbuds, there's a native variety of redbud that grows here wild. It's a shrubby one. So it grows, it's called Mexican redbud or Western redbud. It's a bush form, very small, heart-shaped leaf. This is the more common or more popular tree form. This is called forest pansy redbud, in that the foliage is just dark purple. Usually, it's always green. So the leaves will be about this big. You take your hands and you put them together, make a heart. That's the size of the leaf. So these are going to double, triple in size. And you would think it looks delicate. Tough plant. Goes up to about 12 feet tall. And it just has a single trunk with this pretty kind of umbrella-shaped canopy to it. The flowers on redbuds are always pink. The named varieties like forest redbud, Oklahoma, Avondale, usually those are really bright pink, like a light, turn a light switch on, it just glows. It's that kind of bright. And then they always form this heart-shaped leaf to it. So if you want to go native, drought hardy, low care, really short, this is a great one. In fact, a little history, my history, here we go. So I was up on Lake Powell last year, went up to the Rainbow Bridge. That's about 50 miles up lake, and you got to get there by boat or by mule or something. Who's doing that 3-day journey? You go by boat. We're walking up past there, going up to the arch. Whoa, it's pretty, look at that. It's so largest natural wonder, it's right here. You walk down to the back side and there's a western redbud just growing there at the base of Rainbow Bridge. You wouldn't notice it unless you're a gardener and you've been to this class. Now you're all experts, see? It was a western redbud. It stood maybe about this tall. It's really big. It was ancient, been there forever. It wasn't in bloom, but had the classic green leaves. That's how tough redbuds are. Okay? This one's unusual in that it's purple foliage. Get back up here. This is another one. We plant this one with a smoke bush often. It looks like a bush, but it's not. This is going to be a tree. Very large bush or very short tree. This is Chaste tree, or Vitex, V-I-T-E-X, Vitex. Chaste tree. It's got this beautiful purple flower that blooms all summer through early fall. It's a great hummingbird magnet. This one gets up to about 12 feet tall, maybe a little bit more, but seems well above 10 feet, but well below 20 in that range. It has this beautiful vase-shaped form to it. Usually all this foliage is going to drop off as the trunks start to elongate, or the bark starts to thicken up. So most of the foliage is kind of up here, and the flowers hover above that. It's fantastic, drought-hardy, zero-skip. Again, really tough, robust kind of plant for here. It's one of these things, you don't see it anywhere, but here really, this is where it's a popular high-altitude Arizona plant. It's not popular really anywhere else in the country, but here it naturalizes so well. I wish it were to bloom. Another month and a half, this will start to bloom and it won't stop until fall. That's how good it is. Oh, let's get this out of the way. This does not fit, but I had to bring it. Aspens came in, so they'll be gone by the weekend. If you want one, you better get them. So literally we had maybe 100 aspens come in. This is probably one of the #1 sellers. I think there's a place for them for tiny tree yards. They go to the moon. They just go 50 feet tall. But they don't get that wide. So you can put them in tight spaces as long as you got the roof line to get above. I would put it right next to underneath my eaves or something, or it'd be a headache. But beautiful white bark. As the bark matures, as the bark thickens, it'll get whiter and whiter and whiter until it gets that paper white bark to it. They call it Populus tremuloides, trembling leaf poplar, because when the wind blows, the leaves kind of dance, and that's what they're famous for. Fall color is aspen gold. Aspen Creek is right here. You could walk to it, literally. The aspens grow wild in the ridge lines around Prescott. A lot of myth about this. They don't grow in the valleys. They won't grow in Dewey. They won't grow. You put them on drip irrigation, they'll grow anywhere at any elevation, wherever you're at. Any of us in the mountains can grow an aspen. Okay, we're up this one. This is super unusual. This truly is tiny. It's really not a tree, it's an art piece. It's a topiary, really, if anything else. This is a deodar cedar, like the giant Theodore cedars, it's related to that. Only this one is called Feeling Blue. What's this called? Feeling Blue Theodore cedar. It's a weeping, kind of draping, dwarfed Theodore cedar. It does not get tall, does not grow super fast. But these will actually dangle and hang down like this. It'll probably grow up to be about another 3-4 feet above, just kind of arch over, have these dangling evergreen, soft, evergreen needles to it. This is one I would plant someplace special, like in a raised bed with other flowers underneath it, or an accent piece in the middle of your round driveway, or off the back patio, or you just want to show stuff off in a container. That's where these kind of pieces, this is an art piece. This is one where people come over to your house when we can finally have people over to our house again. This is one where we'll get together, people will go, oh, what is that? And they'll start talking, conversation piece. It'll either be, they'll hate it or they'll love it. It's an emotional connection that happens with these kind of pieces. This is Feeling Blue, Theodore cedar. We'll also have this in a shrub form. Mainly this comes in shrub, but again, we double graft. We have a graft down here, grafted, so we created this tree that this grows on. So it's very an unnatural type of tree plant, but for this class, it fits quite well. What else? Did we get them all? No, here we go. Just trying to think outside the box. So this one and this one are kind of related. So we're going down. You wouldn't naturally think of these, but there is a dwarfed Colorado spruce. Now, Colorado spruce gets 50 feet tall by 15, 18 feet wide. It's a monster. It's big. You plant it by the driveway, the cute thing grows up. Now you can't get your truck down the driveway. It's one of those. This one is a dwarfed Colorado spruce. It's called Fat Albert spruce. It just grows half the size. There's maybe mid-teens, but it still has that perfect Christmas tree shape. So this is one you want to put out in the front yard and decorate every winter for the holidays. It's just cute. It's just cute. You do want to hug it, but it's pokey. Don't touch it. So it just kind of has those perfect layered branches, straight central leader. So I know some hummingbirds like to nest in them. So quail like to be underneath them, kind of stuff. So it's one of those. So if you've got a smaller yard, but you love that Christmas tree shape, this is the one you really want to go for. Fat Albert spruce. Okay. It's pokey. Yeah. This one's related to that one. This is a dwarf globe spruce. Again, pines, evergreens, fir, spruce. Those things, they grow wild here. They just naturalize so easy because we're just surrounded by pine forest, juniper forest. And so you know that evergreens like that are going to do very well in our soil, with our sun, with our water. And so this is a globe spruce. Again, we've got these in the nursery. They're just shrubs. There's these beautiful, perfect globed evergreens, pines, conifers. This one we've grafted so that it's up. So this will actually turn into probably a 4x4x4 perfect globe. Be perfect next to a driveway, the post going to the entrance, next to a patio, welcoming you to a front door. That's where you use these. At a raised bed when you look out the living room or the dining room. This you really want to focus and show off, not just hide in the back corner someplace. This is funky, different, unusual, pretty. And it looks like this year round. So this is the new growth. Old growth looks like that. So this is dwarfed globe spruce in tree form. And did I get them all? I think I got them all, right? Got this little guy. I'm not sure why she brought me this, but just a topiary, fun little spiral, pom-pommed, a globe. You'll see them in different forms. And we got quite a few. These are art pieces. It takes an artist to really create a shrub and turn it into this. But pretty easy care. You prune it usually once a year, right after it's new growth. You're done. I like to plant these in containers and then surround them with flowers. Just an easy way to go, but short little. This does not get very big.
What is it?
You could keep this. This is a juniper, mint julep juniper. I'll have these in pine trees, junipers and pines are the main ways you'll see these forms, and most of them on the front patio down by the rose section. Oh, kind of did hear word the roses are coming next week. So, I mean, all the hybrid teas, floribundas, pretty sure, I don't hear what day, but they're coming next week. I think on Wednesday. So we're kind of famous for our roses. We have a lot of them down right now. We'll have 1,000 roses show up on Wednesday. All of them will be in bloom at the same time. It is so much fun if you like roses. I mean, I get giddy, and I've sold literally thousands and thousands of roses. It's just so much fun. They'll all be in bloom, you can smell them, walk. Even if you don't like roses, it's fun just to walk through and kind of go, oh, I remember that. That's how Grandma's house smelled. Okay, questions on any trees? Otherwise, we're out. Yes?
Two trees that you didn't show, I had questions on. I think one's called an ornamental plum.
Oh, sure. So ornamental plums would be this one.
Oh,
This is a plum, ornamental purple leaf plum. There is also ornamental pears. There's one that's been in bloom. It's starting to fade right now. It's been blooming white. It's a perfect globe shape. It's like a ball shaped. Gets up to maybe 30, 40 feet tall, 30, 35, somewhere in there. I didn't bring it because it doesn't fit this class, but that's Bradford pear or ornamental pear. That's white flowers, beautiful shade tree, and then it's fall. It's the last tree to turn red in the fall of the year, but that's another one. Crabapples are blooming, starting to bloom right now. Redbuds. Did I bring a weeping redbud? There's a really funky weeping redbud. You should take a look at it. If you like weeping forms, draping kind of stuff, very unusual. It's called Ruby Falls redbud. Classic redbud leaf, hardiness of a redbud, shorter than a regular redbud, but it flows like this and goes in the ground. Very, 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 very pretty. Yeah. So, Japanese maples, let's cover that. This is for the Californians. They love their Japanese maples. They don't grow here very well, so put them in the right place, or they'll burn on you. If you read the national tag, it says grows in full sun, we'll be happy anywhere. Don't believe them. Not up here. So I've got three Japanese maples in my house. They're all undercover, or out of the sun. The secret is the sun. If they get in that midday sun in the summer, they will live, but they'll be the ugliest plant you've ever had in your landscape because all the leaves will burn back. You can't water them enough. They just can't, they perspire too fast. So their root system literally can't keep up with the perspiration. It's because of the altitude and the bright sun. So if you're going to plant Japanese maples of any type, whether it's coral bark, whatever variety you've got, make sure they only get about a half day of sun, and none of it's in the middle of the day. You got to get it out of that 10 to 2, 10 to 3 sun, or it will burn on you. They seem to take morning sun pretty good, and right at the end of the day sun, or I've got several, actually I've got 5 Japanese maples. Wow, I get a lot of them. They're all in containers. I've got them in the direct north side of my house. It's a 2.5 story house, classic 2-story mountain town. On a patio in a pot, either side of the post, holding the deck up. Need something tall that kind of hide all the lumber kind of stuff. Felt too like I'm having parties under the deck kind of thing. So I used Japanese maples. It's the only thing that would really grow well in that hard shade. But that's where they grow.
Are they year-round?
They are deciduous. Japanese maples will lose their leaves in the fall of the year. Typically they're an orange to a gold. But they've got that classic maple, little kind of cute maple leaf to it. Yeah. So everyone wants one. Not everyone can grow one. Especially they don't like wind. They don't like sun. So if you're on a ridge line, just take it out of your repertoire. It's not going to be a good one for you. Unless you got a cubby hole to the front door, we can kind of protect it facing north. Maybe it would grow. But I've got them. I'll sell them to you if you want to struggle. But I know how to grow them. There's one or two, yeah.
What about magnolias?
Magnolias are good. They're short. They fit the mold. In fact, I probably should have brought it up here. There's 2 types of magnolias. There's evergreen or southern magnolias. The true southern magnolia for you folks from the south That one does not grow at this elevation. It's not cold hardy enough. But they made one that's called Alta Southern Magnolia. A little bit smaller leaf, but the same flower, same fragrance. It's very pretty. Alta Southern Magnolia. I think there's some down in the lower greenhouse, or evergreen. Classic leaf to it. Very bright flowers. I grow a couple of them behind a fountain. It's very pretty. Then there's the deciduous varieties. This is where you get the fun colors of magnolias. The bright yellows, the pinks, the unusual colors. Usually they're smaller flowered, and they always bloom in the spring before they leaf. So they're deciduous.
Is that the butterfly?
Butterfly magnolia, that's another name. Yep, that's the deciduous varieties. They're very, very tough, very hardy plants. And I found animals don't bother them. So deer, javelina, they seem to leave them alone.
The Alta Southern Magnolia has the same flower as this?
Yes, Alta has the same flower. Personal experience. I love it in my yard. Just beautiful, beautiful plant. Yep, and dwarf. It's short. I've got some that are maybe in the ground 10 years. I doubt if they're 10, 12 feet tall. So they definitely fit this class very well. Okay. Anything online? We're taking questions. With that, I'll hang out, and then I'll hang out here if you got something comes to mind. We'll just chat it up. Or we've got folks over the tiny trees are up against the wall over there. Another one that we didn't really mention, but fruit trees. All fruit trees are pretty much small trees. They've been bred to be small, because then you can't pick a 60-foot apple tree. You just can't do that. They want them smaller. So we've got semi-dwarfed sweet Ann cherries, semi-dwarf nectarines, semi-dwarf plums only get to 20 feet or so. So that whole, if you don't mind the fruit piece of it, I think that would fit as well. Okay. With that, I'll let you clap, and then I'll let you go. Thank you very much. You betcha. Great.